Good evening and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. My name is John. I'm your host this evening, coming to you from the south coast of England. And tonight we will be talking about the continuing shambles that is the club. Oh, how we enjoy it so much. Well, and joining me from just about 16 miles that direction from Portsmouth, is my number one son, James. How are you? Are you going to manage to not swear tonight? That's the big question on everyone's lips.
I will swear at some point, but significantly less. I got most of my swearing out this morning when I cut my foot in the shower. So, that was most of my daily swearing done there and then. Got it out the way nice and early. So I've been very polite for the rest of the day, actually. Look, thanks for having me on, as ever, Father. Got a great show to complain about Spurs today. Who doesn't love doing that?
And from about, I'm going to make this number up, Jack, 5,000 miles that direction is Mr. Jack Hoyle. How are you, Jack?
Sure. I'm doing great. I'm doing really, really well. It's always fun to join you guys and talk about the operations of our football club. I can't think of a better way to spend my Friday afternoon.
Yeah. And I don't know, 12,500 miles, Cameron? Going to be that way, I reckon. Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of jet lag, which I've just got over after my trip a couple of weeks ago to the UK. So, it's a long way. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, and Mr. Diver has just landed in New York as well, because he doesn't go on enough holidays, does he? So he's meeting up with Flat Cat, Jack, tomorrow night, which I expect some pictures of much booze and food, probably, knowing Mr. Diver indeed. So, as I say, we'll review Paratici's less than successful week and his the announcement today that his union and All United away. Oh, did I go then? All United away. Sorry, my internet's a bit. I've just turned the TV off. Hopefully, the streaming won't affect my internet too much. Away trip to Newcastle, owned by the oil barons, obviously, and we'll be keeping half an eye on some game that's happening in North London where Southampton, fortunately, are winning at the moment, although I'm not sure how long that will last. Please do feel free to comment with any updates on that game, because I've just turned my TV off. Hopefully, my internet will last. All right. So let's start with, I've just got a very brief slide. Fabrizio's tweet that came out yesterday. The College of Guarantee of Sport. I mean, I want to go there, Jack. That sounds really good. The College of Guarantee of Sport.
Guarantee of Sport.
Does sound nice.
Yeah. Has officially rejected his appeal. Dave's given me a nice little spiel in the run sheet. For Fabio Paratici was unsuccessful with an appeal against Italian Football Federation ban on certain football-related activities, which I think means he was diddling the books so they could comply with FFP. FIFA ruled to extend the ban worldwide, whilst there continues to be a dispute as to the scope and extent of the ban. The current worldwide ban prevents Fabio from fulfilling his duties as our managing director of football. Fabio has consequently taken the decision to resign from his position at the club with immediate effect to focus on his legal position in respect of FIGC and FIFA rulings. Daniel Levy, chairman, said, "This has been a stressful time for Fabio and his family. We wanted to ensure that we allowed for due process to be followed. Fabio is a man who lives and breathes football. We wish him well. As outlined in our end-of-year results, we started several months ago to restructure the football operations, and last week announced the appointment of Scott Munn as Chief Football Officer. Head up all departments. We shall continue to strengthen our football functions over the coming months." So I'm going to start with Jack. Where does this leave our football club? No manager for the men's team, no manager for the women's team, no director of football. Where are we going?
Oh, that's frightening. Well, I wonder how much of a director of football we've had even in the last couple of months, quite frankly. I would assume much of his time has been devoted to preparing his legal defense. But it seems this right where we were, because I think everyone knew where this was headed, right? I don't think there was any doubt I certainly didn't have any doubt how this hearing was going to go. What I was worried about was that even though he would lose the hearing, that he would say, okay, we're going to still appeal the worldwide ban, and we're going to stay in this limbo zone with not knowing who was going to be in charge of things for the next couple of months. That was my biggest fear. So at least I would say we might be slightly better off in the sense, at least we have one thing decided. He's no longer at the club. So now say, okay, what is, not that we're going to get this, but we can at least ask the question, all right, who's next? What's going to happen? What's going to be the structure? Because he's not there. The question of how much of his structure, because he did put a lot of structure into the club, from my understanding, in terms of scouting network and different positions that have been hired, right hand person, left hand person, sort of thing. And so how many of those people are staying? Is it just that all of them are going to leave, or and we're starting from ground zero, or is there a structure left in place? That's what I would like to know more about.
Cam, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a feeling. Look, Levy's probably preempted this. He's probably been in touch with Munn and Paratici respectively. I mean, it's not like he can stop Paratici from giving him a call and probably putting in some transitional DoF position, or maybe moves in place, and a list of managers amongst other things. It's not good, but I've got a feeling, I'd naively assume that there'd be some preemptive movements happening there for Paratici's departure and/or Scott Munn bringing in an ex-football group, DoF. There has to be something behind the scenes. There's too many vacancies and too many open holes at the moment that cannot have the incoming and the outgoings having a view on it per se. Even though it's unofficial, there has to be some form of communication behind the scenes. So, yeah, we're a mess at the present time, but Levy wouldn't be that naive not to have some preemptive moves in place that we don't know about.
I just remind you of the 77 days before we hired Nuno. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
James? Go on, Cam. Go on.
I think that they knew this was coming, whether it was accepted or rejected for Para. So there has to be. I hope that there's some contingency in play there. I'm not being naive. All businesses have some form of contingency for something that goes wrong. And yes, a lot's gone wrong at Spurs this season, but I'd be hoping there'd be something in place. Just common sense person would have that. Munn and Paratici are surely on Skype calls to each other, transitioning information to some extent.
Well, I mean, first of all, James, we've managed to get 8 minutes in without swearing, but sorry, King Hodler has broken the ice for us. There we go. Adrian is making the point, Munn is the CEO, so should hire the next director of football. In theory, yes, James, but he is on gardening leave and cannot start until, I think, the 1st July, can he? Now,
that doesn't stop him from getting on the phone.
Nothing's going on. Yeah. Absolutely. Having a hypothetical conversation, no doubt. But what's going to happen, James?
If he's on gardening leave, mate. He's down the local bar. That's what he's doing. You'd think that'd be happening, You'd think there'd be a phone call. I mean, if I was the one on gardening leave, I wouldn't be picking up the phone or answering any emails, to tell you that. But you hope so, right? Surely there would be some contingency in place. The thing that worries me is when you look at our slowness over contacting and attempting to appoint a new manager, we're leaving it until summer. At first, I kind of had the analysis that, okay, Levy's waiting to see what happens with Paratici, whatever. Okay, he's gone now. So are there targets lined up that, Munn is going to advise Levy on, and then Levy's going to go talk to them? Is that what's going to happen? The thing is, I don't know. There seems to be a lack of... I can't imagine there's no contingency, because obviously there'll be contingency. Levy's not an idiot. It feels muddled, is the very polite way I'm going to say that. It feels very muddled, and I worry where it leaves us in our recruitment in the immediate term for a manager.
Well, this directly affects Scott Munn as well. So Scott Munn knows that. I'm sure there has to be something behind the scenes discussions, because once he comes off gardening leave, if he's got all these things he has to do in day one, he's starting well behind the 8 ball, like very well behind the 8 ball, if that makes sense. So surely there's got to be some informal discussions happening between Para and Scott Munn.
Yeah. So there's a couple of Craig's put this point in. The plans for this summer which already been put in place. Steinson will carry on with them until we appoint someone. And it has been said today in the press conference, Mr. Lean, he did say that Steinson and Levy and Andy, someone, the other guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, are stepping in to sort of fill the roles between them. And then Craig's also followed that up with, it's been reported that Levy and Munn have already flown to the Netherlands together to speak to Slot. Now, I'd be surprised if Munn was there, given that he's on gardening leave, and that could, I imagine the City Group would want to try and get a bit of money out of Spurs if that was the case, because he's on gardening leave, so he's contractually can't do anything. But that is interesting. I think we've spoken to a lot of people today. Obviously, we've heard that Chelsea are in for Pochettino. They're also apparently got company on their shortlist. All the names that we're being linked with, they're being linked with. So I think there's going to be a lot of this going around until us and Chelsea appoint someone more permanently.
I mean, what I don't
sounds like the best action.
Well, what I don't understand, or would like, I'm not going to get clarification on exactly, but the window will open before Munn is officially on the job, right?
Yeah.
So by definition, that seems to me to suggest that you don't have a director of football or its equivalent position in place at the club when the window opens. That's a conclusion I'm making. Doesn't mean it's definitely going to be that way, but that's possible, which means Daniel Levy is in charge of the transfer window. Regardless of what plans have or have not been made, that's what that says to me. And clearly, I don't think even supporters or people who are not Enic out are going to be enamored with that idea.
Do you think there's a possibility that we will wait until Munn and then the director of football's in, and then the coach is in, or do you think the coach might get appointed as soon as the season finishes? Cameron.
I think there's triangular conversations occurring, like I said minutes ago. I would definitely say on the package that Paratici gets from Levy that there might be an extra incentive or payout there if he does this and that in an informal fashion. I can't see that it'll all fall onto Levy completely. I think there'll be some informal advice given from Para for maybe some certain players or Greta Steinson, whoever it may be. If the manager comes in, I think the manager is going to hot up there. If they're looking at Pochettino, amongst others that we're looking at, things are going to hot up there. I don't think Levy, watching Chelsea trying to tap into or get a manager that we're probably half keen on, might lift the stakes. I woke up to that news minutes ago, so seeing Nagelsmann not going to Chelsea is very interesting. It might change our stance somewhat. But I wouldn't be surprised if Munn has a DOF already in place and he's already in discussion with him, taking him out of the what do you call it group, the City Group. I think that might already be there, might already have happened, and we don't know about it yet.
James, sorry, Cam. James, do you think there's a very good? I mean, Steve told me a few weeks ago he was under the impression there was a very, very good chance we would appoint a head coach before the director of football, and the head coach would have input into the director of football. What's your thoughts on that?
That speaks testament to the concept that we're going for a project manager, right? Someone who's going to stick around in the club for a long time. The entire reason that directors of football came about is because, previously, back in the day, I don't remember, managers were at clubs a lot longer, right? So they were able to build a better relationship with, the people actually operating the club on a financial and business level in regard to build said relationships in regards to transfers, blah, 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 all that stuff. Now, because managers don't last very long, or nowhere near as long as they used to, you have the director of football who has that longevity, can build those relationships. It's his job. If the manager's having input on the director of football, that obviously indicates there's a project manager. Secondly, that's kind of worrying because the whole point of a director of football is they're, the one setting the culture of the club, the, footballing identity, and appoints managers on that basis. So, it does scream to a long-term managerial appointment, which is a good thing, I think. But, what if it goes tits up? Do we then have to get rid of the director of football again? Do we have to, or do we keep them and trust the guy that was partially brought in to appease some manager, to be a bit of a carrot to get someone in who was maybe only half keen on coming in? That approach worries me a little bit, to be honest. But
yeah, okay. King Hodler asked this quite early on, and I deliberately held this question back. Where is the Oracle HG? Some of you may know that HG has had a few microphone issues in recent shows and doesn't really want to sound like Darth Vader again. So he's stepping back from the cheese room for the time being until we can sort of microphone out for him. I believe he's in negotiations with Cheese Room Towers about a new microphone or studio. Well, that's what he claims. I mean, I'm just going to put this up here. He sent us this. Paratici gone, #appoint HG. It makes sense. I'm not sure he's actually, got a microphone. He's just trying to angle for a job at the moment. He's out doing his research, trying to get the job as the new Spurs director of football. What do we think, Jack?
Yeah, I heard he was spotted in N17 earlier today. So that kind of confirms for me that he's definitely stumping for the position. Absolutely, no question about it. And quite frankly, I bet there are some people out there who actually think it wouldn't be worse than what we've done in the past. So,
well, I was talking to you about train tickets earlier, Dad. And do you know what? I'm sorry, it wasn't going to watch Spurs play. It was all a ruse because actually, me and HG have got a meeting with Daniel Levy in a couple of weeks' time at the stadium to discuss. Because HG took a look around. He thinks I'm the man to lead the team as manager. I did a wonderful job on Football Manager most recently in the Uruguayan second division. Got a mid-table team promoted with a 40-year-old bloke called Victorino leading the back line. Did that. Did a stunning job in my second season. Then I did a decent job with Plymouth Argyle, got to the Premier League. And, HG likes the football I've been playing, very attacking football, promoting youth. Levy likes the fact that I can work on a budget, I'm happy to work on a lower budget. There is the small issue that I don't have coaching badges, but, I'm going to ask Levy if I can go on a coaching course. And,
all right, mark the time.
I'm going to have a beer.
22 minutes in.
That's true.
We got to 22 minutes.
Well,
18.
James,
Sorry, 18 minutes. 18 minutes. 18 minutes.
Right, 18 minutes. Yeah.
That's personal record. Personal best. That's a.
But in all seriousness,
yeah.
Just because I think it'd be a bit fun. Obviously, Caller's not here. He's bailed. He's apparently at work. He even sent us a picture of his work just to prove that he's claiming to be working. So what I want you to do in the chat tonight is wrong answers only. Where are HG and Caller this evening? Wrong answers only. Where are they? And maybe once Cam's had his coffee and woken up, we'll ask him, and we'll come back to the guys later on. But yeah, let us know what you think. So what we got the next still is we're going to discuss Mr. Paratici's signings as the Tottenham managing director of football. Now, if you have a look at the list, I'd say we've not got too many misses. We've had a few players like Bissouma who've underachieved. But I personally, James, put that down to Conte's style. I think Bissouma, under a new coach, we could see a really top player next season if he's fit. But going through that list, Galini.
Yeah.
Just go on, James.
I mean, it's you look at the profile of those players, right? It's all young players, some of which have the ability to immediately come into the first team, and in theory, their value will, appreciate. Saying a player's value will appreciate sounds weird because they're people, not stock portfolios, but that's how football is. But there aren't loads of misses. I mean, Galini was awful, and he was more interested in making rap videos than playing football. But he was a backup keeper on loan, right? And he redeemed himself with Forster. But there's with Bissouma, Brighton players, reports came out a while ago that Brighton players were like really confused with what Conte was doing with Bissouma. we know how good of a player he is.
Yeah.
We saw that at Brighton, an inferior team around him. He obviously has that ability. He didn't forget how to play football, right? He didn't have a lobotomy. He needs a three-man midfield, or he needs a slightly different positioning in said midfield. It's all tactics, but there's a good player in there. I don't see tons of L's, to use the youth terminology, right? There's a few, but I can kind of see what all of them are attempting to achieve in some capacity or another. I'd blame most of them on, the manager, or one could say that maybe they're good players and decent value, but they're not the players the manager wanted, which is an entirely different issue.
Correct.
But that's what a lot of these could be seen to be.
Yeah.
Jack?
I think that last point that James you've made is spot on. I think the criticism, if you look at that list objectively or as dispassionately as you can, Galini, whatever. But other than that, I mean, you can find value or merit in every single one of those, even though we've seen very little of Sarr, Spence, and none of Udogie, of course, unless you watch Italian football, and even then he's not playing for us. I mean, there's a reason, for each one, and Longley is not brilliant, but so it's more along the lines of basically saying, okay, who didn't we sign? Who should we assign? Should you have spent 60 million on Richarlison, and is that overpaid, or should you have bought, two halfway decent center backs as opposed to 60 million? I mean, you can make those sorts of arguments, and I'm fine, and we can, and I don't think there's any point in doing it. But the reality is that none of those players are poor. I mean, just downright bad, or huge misses. I mean, we've had some. I mean, if you compare the previous windows, I mean, the money that was spent on the Frenchman and Dumbale. I mean, that there's nothing like that in this list so far. So I think, to your point, the most of it's been either injury related that has disappointed, or the manager hasn't run a system to maximize. And Bissouma is obviously the poster child for that, because he was completely misused, and who knows why. But that's clearly, I think, a decent group of players that have come in, and certainly better success and selection than I've seen in the last 10 years as far as hit rate.
Cameron?
Yeah, I agree with both of those points. I mean, your Royals, your Bissoumas, Hills. The Hills one, he's got talent, but obviously using that talent in Spain. And obviously a Dodgy, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Sarr, look, all those guys have said the same thing to what I'm going to say. They're young players, hopefully on the upward curve of value. That's how obviously Levy has liked his players to be. Sarr's going to be a star. We've seen him this season at such a young age go out, I think, in Milan amongst other games, and he's put in a great shift. So the crop is good, but the manager didn't necessarily use them to their respective strengths. He was quite stubborn and quite forthright in a system that he wanted. So naturally, your Royals, your Bissoumas, amongst others, weren't ever going to probably star per se. James is right around Bissouma. There is a definite player there. He was dominating at Brighton in previous seasons. It's not to me, Bissouma is a mental thing and probably a positional thing as well. But he's a baller. He was excellent at Brighton, and we've kind of broken him a bit. So,
yeah. Okay, I'm going to remove that. I'm just going to go back to some of these. Adrian suggesting Cooler is the best man at Harry Wink's wedding. HG is away getting married to Brendan Rodgers. Cooler is best man. Story. Cooler is at a beer tasting convention.
We said wrong answers only, not scarily accurate answers.
HG is hosting a vain and conceited lecture. That could be true. For all
that actually is not. Yeah, that's actually.
And I've just seen him in the chat. HG and Cooler are carrying Mr. Diver's bags in New York. I don't think I've missed any more. Just going to say hi to Richo. Desperately hoping Everton could stay up. Richo is no doubt after we gave him a point stupidly. Stevie is saying Sarr is our future captain. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not convinced by that. Anyone think that could be the case?
Haven't seen. No, I don't know enough about him. I mean, obviously, the person that's been tapped for that obviously has been Skippy.
Skipp.
I see. You can see that much more clearly in just how he carries himself and the interviews he's given. I don't have any feel for Sarr at all. I don't have a reason to say one way or another, quite frankly.
There's definitely a player in Sarr. There's definitely a player once
Oh,
he
yeah.
starts filling out. He's going to be a killer mid, but captain, I could potentially see that.
Okay, I think we might come back to this question from Bobby here after we've done a little bit about the Cambridge Union chat. And then, sorry, King Hoddle's just commenting about the group of players who put up.
Southampton
3-1.
Oh, you're ahead of me.
I'm watching on
Now
Sky
I'm
Go
up
on
to
my
you.
phone.
Off a corner.
Yep.
You see, this is
Come on.
because I
was at James Hall Press corner. Yeah. I'm about 50 seconds behind because Sky Go's own app is so terrible.
Sorry, guys. I watched that.
I could probably watch a dodgy stream.
That's all right. That's all right. You're about 6 seconds ahead of me.
Good header.
I have to hate Southampton with every ounce of my being, but also I want Arsenal to lose. So, mixture of feelings right now.
My son's down in Southampton. I wonder if he's watching. That's all right. That's
look
right.
at Arteta's face. How funny is that?
Actually, I'll tell you a funny little story. It'll take about 30 seconds. So I went to a concert in Southampton. This was last year. About a year ago. And as I'm getting the train back from Southampton, there's a Southampton fan on the train going back to Chichester, weirdly enough. And he's like in his 50s with his wife. And he has like a massive crate of Carling on the train. And he's just looking around. And anyone who gets on the train, he's pointing out and going, "Do you want a beer? Do you want a beer?" Because his wife's tapping him on the arm and saying, "You're not having all those." So he seemed quite annoyed that they lost to Liverpool that game, but I got free beer. So there you go. So not all Southampton fans are evil. So, exactly.
There you go, James. Adrian's giving you some advice there, some worldly advice.
Cheers, mate.
Have a drink to cure dilemma. He doesn't need an excuse, Adrian, as you know well. Bissouma will be a great signing when we play him in the right position with the right tactical formation. Conte has ruined him. We all 100% agree with that.
Yes, we do.
My worry is that Bissouma was only supposed to be out 6 to 8 weeks, and he got injured. Was it the City game he got injured, same as Hugo? So he's been out since the beginning of Feb now. It's been about 10 weeks. If that's the right game, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed my worry.
We could do a whole other show on.
Back.
Yeah, I was going to say we could do a whole show on our medical department, but I don't think we should.
But the thing is, right, supposedly we replaced the whole medical department. Conte brought a whole new department in, supposedly, and it hasn't worked any better. We've got the best
floor in
facilities,
the medical
supposedly.
room just like sepsis-ridden and every known disease as soon as they step in or something. And then needles on the floor, like
what scurvy from the old days.
Was the film Trainspotting actually filmed in our medical center?
Jesus just
you got no idea.
Jesus just missed basically a sitter. Listen,
he did.
Here's the thing. There's something about a watch along. Listen, this is a watch along.
I'll start watching as well.
This is something that I don't. I mean, just take Richarlison. He never had fewer than 30 appearances in the Premier League prior to Gums. Usually was around 34, 35.
Right. I lost you for a minute there.
Yeah,
I cut out.
I mean, to be fair, Adrian.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. Say again, Jack.
I was saying, I mean, I don't know what it is. If it's medical, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back in.
You're good.
Okay, mate. Cool.
You're good.
Okay.
Majestic. Right.
We just talk about the Conte players, weren't we? Let's put the players back up. So let's have a quick search. So boys, just give me a hit, miss, or unsure if I go through the players. So Richarlison, I'm going to say unsure at the moment. James?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that.
Cam?
I think it'd be a hit if he gets continuity, but he has to play behind Kane. For him to grow and be a plus would be selling Kane.
Okay. Romero, I'm going to say more hit than anything else. James?
Yeah, hit, definite hit. Our best centre back.
Hit.
Cam?
Hit.
Jack, we're just going through the players going hit, miss,
Yep.
or in the middle. Yeah.
Romero's a hit. I mean, I know people are frustrated with his discipline, but he's definitely a player.
I think Porro, it's too early to judge. I think he's had some good games and some bad games, so I'm going to jump past him for the time being. Emerson Royale, the Marmite of our football team, I think. Jack, hit, miss, or indifferent?
Well, my feeling is that he became a important player to the point where people were actually upset when he got hurt, and that's not due to that. May be somewhat coaching. I think it's down to his own effort and resiliency, because he was clearly played out of position. But as a right fullback, I think he's more than good enough to be the first or second choice in a back four.
Well, Craig has said that Royal as a right back is a hit, and yeah. Cam, any different view on that?
I'm going to go unsure. I'm going to go in the middle because I think the right back, the right wing back, no. So I'm going to go in the middle, unsure.
Yeah, James, just before I come to you, Craig's saying he'd be playing ahead of Porro if he wasn't injured at the moment, which he would be. I think I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, he was signed as a right back for Nuno. Struggled a lot of the more attacking sides of the game, still does, but he's really kicked on before his injury. Classic, isn't it? But I don't know if I can say hits in the sense that he's a good right back, but he's not a good right wing back. But he was signed as a right back, right? So can we say a begrudging hit, maybe? A little bit in between.
Okay. Yeah. Bissouma, we sort of discussed. We all think he will become a hit, but at the moment, no. Bentancur, I don't think there's any doubt, is there? Hit for him?
Nope.
Agree all that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bryan Hill. Now, I just think we should point out last night that Bryan came on in the 80th minute for a player called Lamela, who got an assist, even though it was an inadvertent assist in that 3-0 win over United, which I quite enjoyed. I don't think HG was overjoyed about Lamela in that game. Although HG did say it was his only assist of the season. Did any of you guys see any of that United Sevilla game?
Yeah.
I did not.
James, what did you think of the 10 minutes of Hill Messi?
Not tons and tons, to be honest. I think the game's dead and buried. I will say that's some brilliant business by us. You get Lamela and 25 million, and then a bit later you can also have Hill back. Have the money and the both.
It was 21 million.
21.
But we got Lamela off the wage bill.
That is
out of
very
the medical room.
Yeah.
Udogie, we too early to have join him. If I'm honest, I think Sarr's too early. We haven't seen him. Spence, we haven't seen him, although he got man on the bench against PSG, didn't he? Now, the next man on the list, you won't know this, Cam, but apparently we are in negotiations with Barcelona to sign Longley permanently. I'm calling BS on this, but Caller is insistent this is happening. Do you think that's a signing we should be making, Cam?
Oh, I think there's better players his position there. I'm 50-50 on Longley. I really am. I'm not completely sold, but I'm not completely off him. I think not. I think we can get something better in the market.
Yeah. Jack?
It all depends on price and lock up a squad player that you can play in the cups and still play some progressive football, because he does actually play well.
Yeah,
he has a nice long ball out of the back. He's pretty accurate. That ball he sent to Perisic for the first goal in that miserable game is in his locker. That's not a fluke. He's done that several times. So again, if you're talking about a I don't know what the fee. I don't know where he is in the contract situation. But if you're talking about a reasonably low fee on reasonable wages with a reasonably short contract, because you're just saying, okay, we need someone in the squad because we're still going to play 3 center backs. That means we still need 6, and you're bringing him in only to be your number 2 or 5th option, depending on how you're playing it. Then I'm fine with it. So it all depends on price for me. He's not a bad player. He's just not. He's not good enough to be your first option.
100%. That's my feeling as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think King Hoddle's saying as a squad player is okay. And that's the key. Are we going to sign 3 centre-backs that are going to come in ahead of him? 2 centre-backs definitely. We do need 2 or 3 centre-backs because for me, Tanganga needs to go. Sanchez clearly needs to go.
Yeah, I was thinking of Sanchez there.
First choice.
Yeah, I see Tanganga. You're right. I was thinking because Sanchez isn't returning. I can't see a guy really wanting to play for the club that's copping ridicule quite regularly. So it means the requirement is heightened there, clearly.
Yeah. And Adrian saying, I like Longley, a baller who hasn't had any protection, which is a fair point. His best games are definitely when he's had Davis at left wing back.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
And
really.
then Craig. I'd actually keep Davis at a long lay as a backup, as he can play left back, left-sided centre back, and left wing back.
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
if it's a choice between the two, then yes.
Yeah, my worry about Longley is he's on 200 grand a week at Barcelona. So are they going to still pay some of his wages? Because we shouldn't be paying him that much. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I? Sorry, this is something I've just noticed. I will talk about Longley in a moment. Southampton's away kit, the ocean spiral on it, is the exact same design as a mouse mat I have. So that's interesting. I see where they got the idea for that one. They obviously went around PC World one day and thought, "Oh, that looks good. Put that on a shirt."
James, you're gonna have to burn that. You'll have to burn that. If you're in Portsmouth, you can't have a matching Southampton away kit mouse mat.
I'm going to have to buy a Pompey one, aren't I? Well, no, it's my travel one. My main one's black, but no. My thing with Longley is right.
Black.
Davies isn't going anywhere, right? Because he's the Welsh Maldini. Actually, no. Do you know what? He's better than Maldini? There you go. And he's been our best left wing back.
He's probably better than Maldini now.
Yeah, well, I didn't say when, did I? He's been better. He's been our best left wing back at points this season, right? And he's solid. He's not spectacular, but he does give a lot. He gives it all, and he's fine, right? As a backup squad player. My worry is the amount of money I've seen for Longley floating around isn't a lot, 12 million. My worry is if we have Longley and Davies, well, next manager that comes in might want to play back 4. Then we're not going to go sign another left-footed centre-back, for the pairing. My worry is then one of them, Davies wouldn't play in a 2. He plays a left-back or a backup left-back. But then my worry is what? Are we going to go sign another left-footed centre-back? I doubt that a little bit, And yeah, he's on big money. He's getting on. I think he is a decent centre-back. And I said this before he arrived. He's good on the ball, relatively. And, he hasn't had a lot of help. He's got Eric Dier to one side and he's got Sessegnon to the other side. He's in between a rock and a hard place. Or, well, more like custard and donkey shit. But
Wow.
And we're off.
I don't know, I think he's all right. If we can get a deal done for a reasonable amount and his wage demands aren't ridiculous, then I'd say keep him for a couple years because for the fee floating around on social media, 12, 15 million, you're not going to get a better player for that amount, I don't think, in the immediate term. And if that means we can save that money on squad players and go and put that money towards a Maddison or a proper first choice centre back, I'm all for it. That's my case for it.
I think that's a good point. I think your point about who does it prevent us from signing is a bigger point because again, as a player, I don't have huge issues with him. I assume we're going to be playing a back 3 because I don't think he can play in a back 4. In my view, from what I've seen in the past, I think that would be a mistake. And if it means that to your point, we don't sign another left-sided center back because we're keeping both, then I'm not in favor of that. I only assume that we're going to continue to play a back three because they think they know what they're going to want to do with the next manager. But I'm not a fan of him not up for us not upgrading that side significantly. And so that would be just another terrible
I agree
underinvestment in the team.
I think Longlay's too slow for me to play in the back four and even at times in the back three. I'm going to try and move it on because it's 9:45. I know Jack's going to have to shoot off fairly soon. We've got a fair bit to talk about. So shall we talk about, obviously I work in the University Union, but I don't work in Cambridge. So let's talk about the Cambridge Union's interview with our chairman, Mr. Daniel Levy. The strange fact is this was actually recorded on I think it was the 10th or the 14th of March, before Conte had his meltdown at Southampton. But it's only just been released this week. Now, you guys have watched some of it. I've seen the bits of it. I've seen Twitter melt down over it and probably take a lot of it out of context. Jack, do you want to give me an overview of what you saw in the interview?
For my take, and I only listened to it once, and it was about 2 hours ago. It's pretty much a nothing event. In other words, in terms of if you're trying to get headlines out of it or really interesting insights into Daniel's mind and how the club operates or a strategy, and there isn't much there. The guy is not loquacious. I mean, he does not elaborate in his responses. He doesn't like to hear himself talk, at least not in public. I mean, obviously the big thing that everyone melted down about was the snippet of, he only did it for an investment. So that is a question. The question that he's answering is, tell us about how you got started in football and involved with Tottenham. I mean, that was some generic question like, take us to the beginning. And he explained how he gave us a little bit of background on his investment banking, which led him to Enic, which was just a £5 million investment fund. And he had the idea of making it into a sports and media holding operation. So that's when they went out and bought lots of little clubs. And then subsequent to that, the UEFA rule comes in that says, well, one group can't own clubs that are playing in the same competition. So the share values had plummeted. And so they reconstituted the thing, sold off all the little clubs, but kept their interest and then boosted their interest in Tottenham. And he said, hey, I had no intention to run the club on a day-to-day basis. It was only seen as an investment at the time. And that last little bit is what gets snipped and then I assume thrown out. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter because that's just for my mental health. And as a result, that's what got pulled out by people. But I mean, he's talking about in 2001, 2002, he saw this as an investment vehicle, which is true. And that's not news. And it doesn't confirm or deny anything that's happened since, as far as I think if whatever opinion you do or do not have of Enic and Levy. He then goes on to talk about, he realized that he needed to step up to day-to-day operations in order to fulfill the potential of the club. Take that with what you want, because he doesn't expand beyond that. He doesn't say to maximize value. He doesn't, I'd have to listen to it again to see a transcript, but there's really not much in it. And I just said, I don't think there are really, because I think King's spot on. Even when there was a question about, the away ticketing system, there was a question about the price of tickets. There was all this sort of stuff. And the shortness of it's not he's impolite. It's just like, I'm not giving you anything. Like, you have a good point about the away tickets, but we're not considering changing the loyalty system. And that's it. And then that's done. I mean, they must have gotten 30 questions in because he doesn't talk very long.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, Craig saying Levy out is having a meltdown at the sheer sight of him. And there's a lot of sticks to throw at Daniel Levy, which are justifiable. We overachieved in many ways under Poch, but there's been numerous times. I mean, I always go back to the Sarr Nelson window in 2012, when we could have signed X, Y, and Z, and we didn't quite get Hazard over the line, or maybe Suarez, that whether that's down to Harry Redknapp, whether it's down to Levy, I don't know. But there's been, we had the 2 windows, we didn't sign anyone. Now it's been claims that was because Poch didn't want the players that were thrown at him, whether we didn't get Grealish over the line. There's been numerous times that we as fans have felt let down by the leadership of the club. But when people, as you say, Jack, just get snippets of things and use that to run their narrative, is what really annoys me. Because I think you lose credibility if you're going to take something out of context or that isn't necessarily true. The profit ahead of glory thing, we've made a loss the last 3 years. So, but people are still using it. Surely you need to find a different angle. And there are plenty of angles. And that's the frustration for me. The ticket prices is a big thing that we always go on about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pleased to see we've got this movement now, which seems to be more considered and measured. However, I know Christina, who was on this show a few weeks ago, was on Last Word on Spurs earlier this week talking about the movement. But most of them are a bit hiding at the moment. We're not seeing who they are. And I think really for this movement to move on, we need to see people coming out and speaking, be on podcasts, YouTube shows, on mainstream media to really progress it. But at the moment, it's just frustration that we're getting nothing out of the club. The club have done the statement of we're, Stellini's in charge at the end of the season, and that's it. As far as they're concerned, that's it. But it just feels they're not reading the room, that the football is turgid and terrible. None of us want Stellini in the club anymore. We all want rid of him because because he's still playing Conte's way. The only difference I can see is Son's playing better. But apart from that, it's crap. Cam?
Agreed.
Yeah, getting back to just wanting to go back to what Jack was saying with the interview. I think it's annoying because we're wanting to get communication out from the club, and then he goes and does this at the university, which is kind of random and very out of touch. And I think with everything that's happening in the club, there's just, you're right, Stellini's here. It feels the club is just in purgatory or in no man's land at the present time. Things are as is at the moment. There's no jolt, there's no change, there's no nothing. Do I think there will be? Yes. Do I know when that will occur? No. So it definitely feels like we're definitely in no man's land at the present. And that's the frustrating thing, because you got Stellini that is just a B-Tech contact. Although I'll give credit to Mason when I went to the game a few weeks ago against Brighton. Mason actually was trying to push for change with the squad and took Danjuma on. And you can just try and see that Stellini's kind of like a metaphor at the moment for the way things are, that they're staying as is, and Mason's trying to, they scored. He's just trying to keep things as is.
Oh, God.
And that's a frustrating thing. So, yeah, they scored. So, yeah, frustrating time.
I'll go up again.
I'd say
I literally just turned it off as well.
Yeah, the only even, in my opinion, remotely newsworthy thing he said was they asked about the reports that there's a bid in from and that there are ongoing discussions with the Qatari sports group or whatever, the PSG owners. And Daniel said that, while Enic controls the club, clearly, there are 30,000 shareholders, and they have an obligation to consider any offer that's made for the club, and they will evaluate all offers. But that all reports of negotiations, discussions, or actual bids are false.
Yeah.
So now that's as of March, 14th or whatever the date was. So, I can't speak to what's happened in the subsequent 2 months as far as reports. But at that time, the chairman officially says everything that you've read is untrue. That is different than that. So I guess that would be the only newsworthy thing.
Okay. James, you got any view on the what you heard?
I think the interview, I had a joke, but I won't tell it because I have a friend at Cambridge. I will tell it. The joke being of, maybe if Levy had gone to Oxford instead of Cambridge, we'd have won something by now. But
I hadn't actually heard that.
But anyway, he comes across very much like a
Arsenal
politician
scored or
with
something,
no
because
charisma.
Seb's just sent lots of
Yeah.
expletives on our WhatsApp chat.
Shit.
Oh, there you go.
Piss off, free.
Oh,
Oh yeah, but you couldn't do that in a World Cup Euros final, could you? Balled it then. Anyway, still a draw with Southampton at home, and Southampton.
Well, there's still time.
There's still injury time, so that's at 90th minute.
there was 7 minutes added in the first half, so what they're going to add this half?
Well, there was a long injury
90
to
minutes played.
Vestergaard.
Enough said. Finished. My mate's an Arsenal fan. He's spam texting me. This is very. Anywho, what was I going to say? Yeah, he comes across like a politician with very little charisma. I think a lot of what Twitter's melting down about is completely taken out of context. I completely agree with Jack. A lot of the time when questions were asked to him, he, when you're like 13, 14 and you feel quite strongly and you make a point to like any authority figure and you kind of get that just argument of, oh, that's a valid point, but here's the other argument, and you just kind of get nothing. That's what every question to Levy kind of felt like a little bit. Kind of a nothing interview, wasn't it? You're not getting any insight into the football club. I mean,
he played a straight bat.
Yeah, he did very good. It's exactly what I would do in his position. I mean, he doesn't have much natural wit or charisma. But, not everyone could be as hideously charming as, us fine gentlemen. So, if
100%.
you're Levy, you kind of have to do that, right? He gave very politicians answers. But I think he was there more to talk about the business aspect of running a football club. He went into investment banking. And, he's a Cambridge alumni. So, it is what it is. I don't think this interview is something I can particularly grief Levy over, aside from the fact that he has about as much charisma as a damp towel.
I mean, I don't know what they gave 8 minutes for. Does anybody have any idea what they gave 8 minutes for? We hit the bar. I mean, other than Sky and BT said we need a title race, so this game has got to. Arsenal has to win this.
But VAR's not been involved, is it? Isn't that HG's?
There's been no VAR in the second half.
But they reckon that VAR's, it's all conspiracy to make it, Yeah, I've just seen them hit the bar there. Right. Shall we move on to... I mean, I'm not sure I'm looking forward to this at all on Sunday. And I'm going to miss part of the game anyway, because I've got my daughter's, James's youngest sister's birthday party. And then I've got to take one of the other sisters up into Chichester. Because, would you believe, James?
Yeah.
She's going to see the Coldplay concert played at the Cineworld. And she really wants to see it. Definitely not in your musical taste. But there you go. I've got to take you up. Anyway. So, Newcastle Spurs is a 2 p.m. UK time kickoff live on the Sports of Sky. I say, I'm not looking forward to this one. Newcastle are looking to complete their first double over Spurs since the 15-16 season, having run earlier in the season at the Lane when Hugo decided to drop a clanger. 2-1. Now, this was earlier today. Alistair Gold was at the training ground for the press conference. And, of course, before the press conference, there was a power cut. So the press conference was delayed. Could this sum up Tottenham Hotspur more? Just in one tweet, just sums up Tottenham's season, doesn't it, really?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we are 3 points behind Newcastle, where they have got a game in hand. I will put up Newcastle's fixtures in a minute. I'll just find them. Here we go. They play a 4-3-3 with Dan Burn is a centre-back who can play left-back. Obviously, we know about Trippier. Gordon got subbed in the game against their 3-0 defeat against Villa last week, so I doubt he'll start. But, I mean, given our awful form and especially away form, Cameron, I want to come to you. How do we stop Newcastle on Sunday?
By putting the entire team behind the ball? No.
Not thought of that.
I don't know. I honestly think when I saw Brighton, I thought we were going to get touched up, but we had a little bit of grit there to actually score. I don't know. This is the kind of game where I think we can go up there and get goals, but at the same time, I think we're going to concede as well. So I don't know. Part of me goes, we're going to lose this, but part of me goes, we'll score as well. I think there's definitely holes within that lineup where I can definitely go, we could have a go at him and hopefully he will fold. But I don't know. I'm Tottenham at the moment. I'm low confidence with them, so I believe we can score, but I think we're going to concede. I don't rate Joe Linton. I don't rate Willock. I don't rate. But then there's Botman, who I do rate. Guimaraes. I'm going towards a Desmond with this, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. It's gone early. I mean, Adrian's gone early with a 3-1 for Spurs. Now, the only thing I would say, and I have got our previous results at Newcastle, is that they tend to win at Tottenham and we tend to win up there. Now, I'll put up the next set of results and I'm just going to point out, I did not do this deliberately. Oh, what, Jack? What?
I just think it was a foul. It's nothing. It's still 3-3.
It definitely was a foul.
I'm just going to say, oh, what, the guy running forward?
Yeah.
Is that Walker Peters?
No,
it wasn't Walker Peters.
Blatant red card. He should be sent off forever, mate. Banned. Dangerous tackle, that.
I'm just going to put up the next page, and I did not do this so the Cheese Room logo would hide a certain number. But if you know, you know.
1-0 Spurs. 1-0 Spurs. What a result that was for us. All right,
yeah. One of these
3
fortunate
points.
things. We shall not mention this game, but my worry is this Sunday could end up like that again. Unfortunately, the way we are playing.
I think that was the
And
game that. Okay.
Go on, Jack.
Wasn't that the game that caused Poch to not talk to the squad for a month?
Well, it was the end of the season, wasn't it? So he.
Yeah, no, but like
He's
deliberately, he
speaking.
said he couldn't even speak. He wouldn't even call the players.
Yeah.
Over this.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, what would you have said to them on the phone? Without, presumably you don't want to slag off your
positive.
entire team.
Nothing positive.
Yeah, maybe Pochettino was doing a me and thinking, I've nothing to say other than a bunch of very vulgar terms, so I'm just not going to talk to them for a bit. And then he had a cup of tea, he had a sit down, and he relaxed. The thing with that Newcastle side is the way they play is well known. They're not doing anything revolutionary. They have some good players, but player for player, they're not better than us. Tactically, they're not invincible. There's errors in their team. Burn tucks in when they attack. They have a bit of back three, quasi back three. Trippier pushes a lot more forward. It's very, modern football 101. Of course, we play 1950s Catenaccio style football, so a bit of a time clash there, battle of the ages, you could say. But there's definite weaknesses in their team. I don't think their backline is incredible. I think it's done well because they press fairly well. But, they lost 3-0 to Villa, right? I think if we get an early goal, we'll be all right. The one thing is we just can't sit back against them. If we go at it, then player for player, we are better and we can beat them. It's just one of those things. If we get a goal and then we just go, right, lads, all sit on this for 80 minutes, we're going to struggle. Because they have some good players. I think Isaac's pretty solid. They do have good attacking options. It's more just a case of, they have a lot of energy. They create chances through said energy. A bit like, early Liverpool under Klopp. So...
Guimaraes, Joelinton.
Yeah. We it's one of those games where I think if we kind of look at what they're doing and do a bit of it back to them, they'll crumble. A couple... Almost what we need in that game is a bit of Lamella style football, A couple of, sometimes a bit of shithousery helps, That little bit of, you're not going past me because if you do, I don't care if I get red carded, your legs are broken, mate. Sometimes I think you need a bit of that, and I think Newcastle are a bit of a naive team, whereas, for all our flaws, we've got a lot of old geezers in the squad, so we got that experience, but I don't think we're going to get battered like some people maybe think. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for us either. But it's tricky to call. I think it's actually going to be fairly close. I think it's going to be a 2-1 sort of style game.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. What's going on, Cam? Why are you shaking your head?
They're trying to go for a penalty shout. The ball's in the Arsenal penalty box. It's out now because the ball was ping-ponging around. That looks like it's fallen out, and it's 99 minutes, and it's full time. It's a draw. Yes,
splendid. That'll do. I know they've lost 3 points, but that will do.
2 minutes extra on top of the 8 for crying out loud. There was no stoppages. Anyway.
Yeah, there was a Southampton player in the 97 minute got tapped on the leg, and he was basically getting stretched. So that's an Optus.
Oh, they've all gone down.
But there was a big penalty shot for handball.
Right,
it appears.
Turn this off.
Yep.
Yeah, Adam, I'm just going to say I found this bottle here, so I believe Arsenal got it. There we go. I'm going to go back to this. Where was it, Adam? I agree. We need to go 3 midfield, but Stellini won't because he's as stubborn as his boss because he's Conte light, and he needs to be sacked. We need to get rid of him because it ain't working. We're going to get overrun in midfield like we have done all season. So my big question for you guys: Kane starts, Son starts, because that is. Does Danjuma come in for Kulusevski? Do you think he should, and do you think he will? Jack.
The premise is we are going to play 3-4-3. That's the best. That's the premise of the question. All right. I don't know if it's a Danjuma. Should he play for? I would say that it. I don't think it will happen. I don't expect him to play. That's the first. That's the easy one. I expect the same lineup. If everyone's fit, because I don't know the fitness. I've had a busy week, so I haven't been keeping up. So I don't know what the fitness situation is. And that the only thing that's going to change, I think, the lineup will be fitness, or even the formation. It's going to be fitness related. The question of should he play, I think absolutely he should play, because from my perspective, he's a lone player. He hasn't been given the opportunity to know whether or not he should stick around. And the only way you're going to know if he should stick around is if he plays. So I don't know enough about him to say, can he play the right wing? Is that effective or something? But I mean, he needs to be on the pitch and playing games to see whether or not the next manager is going to want to keep him around the club, or we're just going to let him, fart off at the end of the season because we didn't play him. So, I don't expect him to play, but I would love to see him. I think he should start because we need to see what we've got. Because every time he's come in, he's been very lively. Yeah. And he does something. He's similar to Kulusevski. He will take a man on, but he's got speed. So if we're going to be sitting in defending deep as I expect and getting battered, the only chance we have is to bring a ball out and have runners like Son and Danjuma who can get past and behind a defense, because Kulu can't. I mean, he's a wonderful player when he's on, but he's not fast. So, I mean, that's kind of the way I see it.
Cameron?
Danjuma's Stevie B 2.0. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but when I was at the game a few weeks ago, I noticed that Danjuma definitely did add life to the pitch there. He was actually adding a lot of initiative, straight runs. He was actually quite direct. I personally think he should start tomorrow ahead of Kulusevski based on form and mental effort. I think Kulusevski's been in a bit of a funny spot at the moment. I can't pin it, but I think he should start tomorrow and have Kulu come on, see mentally how Kulu approaches that. We've had Son start off the bench and he scored goals, so why not?
Yeah. If Moura had been fit, he is fit, Adrian. He's just suspended. Fortunately, this is the only good news about this weekend, is that Lucas Moura is still suspended for this weekend. So that's the only silver lining we have. But I'd like to see Danjuma play. I thought his energy, he caused problems. His finish, I know it's deflected, but it was he hit it sweetly on his weaker foot. And for me, I think Kulusevski's way off form, and we need to try something different. I'd love us to go 3 in midfield, but I don't think we will. So if we're sticking with 3-4-3, let's stick Danjuma up there with Son and Kane and try it, because as far as I'm concerned, we're losing this game from the off, pretty much.
Yep.
And they've beaten a lot of teams at home. I know they had a wobble against Villa, but Villa are looking really good, and we've got to go there as well. So that's not going to be easy.
Villa's top of the form table. They look fantastic, and it just shows you, as many people pointed out many times before, what a manager can do when he maximizes the parts that he has available to him, and everyone buys into the system, because those are the same players that have been there all year.
Yeah. City's total to lose. Right. I've got a picture. I don't. Obviously, you guys, none of us have ever been to Newcastle. I'm pretty sure. I certainly haven't, and I know James hasn't. But the way end is so high up. I found somebody sent me a picture. This is the stairs to the away end. There we go.
You actually have to climb up the last little bit.
Right. I tell you what. Let's have a little look if I can find where I've done it. Oh God. Right. First of all, we'll do our fixtures. A quick scan through. These are our 7 fixtures. 7 fixtures? 7 fixtures we've got left. So we've got this horrendous week where we play Newcastle. Then we play United on Thursday, and we will be doing an instant reaction show Thursday night after that game. Although I might regret that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Liverpool next Sunday. Then we play Crystal Palace appropriately. We play the Palace on the day of the coronation. Then we go to Villa. Then Brentford, which is now an early kickoff, is our last home game because BT Sport won it. And then we go to Leeds on the final day. And having seen Leeds get smashed on Monday night while also watching the Cheese Room, no doubt they'll turn up for their final game of the season, which they'll be relegated for. I mean, 7 games, 21 points at stake. Cameron, how many points do you think we can get from those 7 games? And I'm going to give you a second, so I'm going to quickly do some quick maths. I'm going to say we're going to get 8 points.
I think we can get, out of the 21, I would go between 10 and 11.
Jack?
I would definitely say that 11 would be the upper limit, and I would be much more in the 6 to 8 range. I mean, let me say something. Let me back up. This squad can lose every single one of those games.
True. Yeah.
There is no evidence to suggest that they'll win another game. With that said, I don't think that it's just as unlikely. I mean, just random events. So I think you can get out of Brentford, Leeds, and Crystal Palace. You could say there's 7 points. I guess you could get out of those. Is not impossible, but you could take zeros in every other match.
Yeah, James.
United.
Oh, Cam, James. While you're thinking, Cam, you say what you're going to say.
I think I said between 10 and 11, and right, we could get donuts for all of them. But United's looking a bit shaky at the moment as well. It's not like United's going to be steaming into our ground and going to belt us. They've got some casualties. I think Newcastle's the tough one in the United game, and Liverpool, I can see a draw, but I can definitely see a loss. I can't see a win. But then the results on the right, definitely you can score 3 points from some of those matches.
Look, Cam, let me just a minute. This is the thing. If we roll Stellini's 3-4-3 out, then we might get 4 or 5 points the rest of the season. If because there's something that forces us to go to a 4-4-2 like he did briefly last game, and then eventually whatever that 4-1-7 or 4-1-6 or whatever that we're playing. I mean, if we're forced into an actual stylistic formation tactical switch, then that changes things, because I think that there are enough players that we can put on the pitch that can score and maybe win some 3-2, 4-3 games. If Kane and Son, if Son's coming back into form. But at the 3-4-3, I just don't think the players believe in it. I don't, and we're so predictable that, I mean, again, James can probably develop a adequate tactical plan to defeat us if that's all we're going to do is roll out the same patterns of play that we have for the last 18 months.
I'm just going to, James, before I come to you, I'm just going to pull Keith up here. Keith, it's not 70 years, mate. It's 111 years since the Titanic sunk. We went from 1912 until 1985 without a win at Anfield. Then we won in 85. In 84, 85, we won there, March 85. Then we won in October 86 when Clive Allen scored in his great season. Then we won in 93 when Teddy scored twice, beginning 93, 94 season. And then we won at the end of the Harry era, I think it was at AVB. I know Modric and Van der Vaart scored, so it must be Harry's era. They scored in a 2-0 win. We've won a couple of cup games. Famously, Klinsmann scored there, and we won a League Cup game there. That is it in 111 years. 111 years, sorry. Just terrible Anfield. Anyway, James.
There are the obvious fixtures there. Palace, we should beat them at home, but probably lose. Villa, tricky place to go. They've been significantly improved under Emery, although, again, there's huge weaknesses there. Brentford, decent side, again, should have won that. The thing is, and this was kind of the trend last season, in the bigger games, we do better than in the, quote-unquote, lesser games. Matches 3 points, right? I look at Newcastle and I think, okay, there are weaknesses. I look at United and I think they're looking shaky. There are weaknesses. Their keeper, he couldn't catch a cold at the moment, right? Liverpool aren't the same dominating team that we've seen for the past, 5 or 6 years. They're not brilliant. There are massive weaknesses there. You look at this and you think we could win all these games, right? With the quality of player we have, there are ways we could win all these games. The issue is we are not going to be pragmatic and tactically adaptable enough to win all these games. So look at the Newcastle game. I think it's going to be close. Look at the United game. We're at home. I think maybe we get a draw. Look at the Liverpool game.
Loss.
Thing is, they're not good. They're not good. We're better than they are at the moment. That's the painful thing. Okay, right. I look at this and I think maybe 2 draws, 2 or 3 losses and a couple of wins. But it's frustrating because I look at this and I just think, put me in an office with Stellini and Mason, right? And I can tell him with a bit of video footage how you beat all these teams because it's not complicated. United's general setup isn't that unbreakable. It's pretty straightforward football in the same way that Liverpool's is, in the same way that Newcastle's is. I actually think we'll beat one of the big teams, be it Newcastle, United, Liverpool. I think we'll get a couple of okay results, be it, 4 out of those 3, or maybe even 5, and then we'll drop points to Palace. I think that's what's going to happen. Honestly, I think we'll get a brilliant result against, Newcastle United, and then we'll lose to Palace. And then we'll go to Villa with shaky confidence. And then that will be really what determines the rest of our season. Because if we then respond to that and get a win, top 4 maybe.
So I was going to say, James, the thing about Palace is since Hodgson's come in, he's turned their form around completely.
Yeah.
However, if they get to 40 points, they'll be on the beach. That's what they've always done under Hodgson.
The other thing is...
Hopefully they'll be at 40 points by then.
The other thing under Hodgson is they have obviously had a much easier run-in than previously, although I don't doubt Hodgson's done improved them significantly. Teams in relegation battles, you look at games, you think, okay, we need to win these games, we need to pick up points here, and these games are free hits sort of thing. It's a free hit if they're already on 40 points. Happy days, lads. Fair play.
I mean, to be fair, Palace's 3 wins under Hodgson were against Leicester, Leeds, and Southampton. So, not exactly teams that have been flying particularly. They've got Everton at home, which we'll come to in the predictions in a minute. They've got Wolves away, West Ham at home, then us, then Bournemouth, then Fulham, then Forest. So they've actually got a pretty good run. They're on 36 points. So if they can stay off the beach, they could actually climb. They could probably overtake Chelsea, which would be quite funny. Did you give us a number, James? Did you give us a number between 1 and 21 or 0 and 21 for our points?
12 points.
Okay.
I'll check.
Right, I'm going to see why I've hidden the here we go. Go on, Jack.
What'd you call John?
I think I said 8. I think. Yeah, 7
Cam
or 8.
said 11.
10 and 11, or 10 or 11.
You take 10. All right, take 10.
I mean, if we win Sunday and perform well, I'll be saying 15. Don't worry.
As I said, I think the only hope is that something forces management's hands to change how we play. And if that happens, then 12, 14 points is absolutely doable. But I don't think the players believe in what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, King Hoddle, 3 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. So that would be 11. I'd like your positivity. What we haven't done is a prediction for Sunday's game. So before we go on to the main Premier League predictions, Cam, Spurs, Newcastle Spurs. What say you?
Desmond.
Jack.
3-1 Newcastle.
James.
2-1 Spurs.
I have in my head 3-1 Newcastle as well, unfortunately. Although I can see it being 3-0.
But you're an optimistic guy, so it's nice of you to get.
Do you know, I'm usually optimistic, but I just can't. No, at the moment we're just so poor, especially away from home. We can't defend. That's the biggest problem. And Newcastle can defend generally, apart from they had a bad week. I'd be surprised if they had 2 bad weeks in a row.
Saint Maxima going up against Porro.
Well, the thing is, Longley got absolutely destroyed by Almiron, didn't he? At the lane. And I'm not sure if Almiron will start or not, but it just worries me. King Hoddle's going a 3-1 loss as well. The Hotspur, I think that's 40 to Newcastle, I'm guessing. So not positive times. Right, let's go on to the Premier League games. I've got the FA Cup games in as well. So we'll race through these. So the lunchtime kickoff tomorrow is Fulham Leeds. Leeds in woeful form. Fulham getting a good result. Everton, even without Mitrovic for 8-game ban. I'm going to go 3-1 to Fulham. James.
2-0 Fulham, probably. Leeds aren't good.
1-0 Fulham.
I'll go 2-2.
Okay. Keeps going 3-1 to Fulham. Apparently, St. Maximan's out, Jack. So maybe Porro. He'll probably have. I can't remember who I have against him now. I'll have a look in a minute. Brentford, Aston Villa. This is a tough one. I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa. James.
I think they might actually drop the ball a little bit. 2-2.
Cameron?
For Brentford, and
Yeah.
go 2-2.
1-1.
Jack? Interesting. Keith's going for a 3-3. Lots of goals there.
1-1, yeah. I'll take the draw, but just low scoring.
Crystal Palace against Everton. I'm going to go 2-1 Palace. Jay?
Same.
Cam?
I'm going to go 2-0 Palace.
Cameron, were you just in your Patreon prediction scores there? Where did you go?
I'll take the same 2-1 Palace.
Okay, I'm just going to stick up the banner. If you'd like to join our Patreon and see our chat and everything, £3 a month. Obviously, I don't know what the local equivalent for you guys is. And you can
Cool
sign
mugs
up
too.
And you get, after 6 months, you get a T-shirt and a mug and some pin badges. And if Franco can send it to you, otherwise, I mean, Cameron just flew to the UK just to get his merch. He didn't actually.
That's right.
True.
Yeah, it's expensive merch. That's true.
Good story. $2,000. Yeah.
Leicester Wolves. Can anyone see a Leicester win here? I think Wolves are going to win this.
Yeah.
Jack.
Yeah, that's a 2-0 win for Wolves.
Cam?
1-0 to Wolves.
Jay?
1-0.
Ooh.
New manager bouncing
I'm
out.
going to go 2-1 to the Wolves, just to keep Caller's dad happy. So Nottingham Forest, who have scored, was it 4 goals away from home all season, against Liverpool, who have smashed several teams at Anfield. Oh, I'm going to go 5-0 Liverpool. James.
I'm going to go for an upset. No, I'm not. Brennan Johnson's out injured. I think it's going to be actually fairly tight. I think it might be like a 2-0 Liverpool.
Mr. Harris has gone for a nice close 1-9-0. Good morning, Mr. Harris.
Could go either way there.
Okay. Cam?
2-0.
Jack?
4-0.
4-0. Simon says, I think these teams near the bottom will be inspired by Southampton win tonight and surprise everyone. It can happen. You do get weeks like that where, and because it's so close at the bottom, there'll be a lot of movement about between now and the end of the season. That's the great thing about it. Bournemouth, West Ham. Now, Bournemouth obviously buoyed by winning against us. West Ham played last night and smashed Ghent in the Europa League. Declan Rice scored a fantastic goal, I thought. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I saw it on Twitter. But he strolled through several challenges and put it in the bottom corner, I think. Yeah. But surely he will not be at West Ham next season. I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth. James.
Ooh. No, I think West Ham are going to get a 2-0 win.
Yeah.
1-1.
Cam?
1-1.
1-1. Jack?
2-1 Bournemouth.
Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look at their head-to-head, actually, at Bournemouth, because I think West Ham have got a good... So, 2019, Bournemouth, they drew 2-2. And Bournemouth won 2-0. They've had a 3-3, a 3-2, and a 3-1 to West Ham. So, plenty of goals, generally. So, 0-0 it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think West Ham, they focus on staying up and then winning the Conference League and getting into Europa. I mean, that's their season. So they're going to be.
West Ham's a very good chance West Ham go down and win the Conference League. That'll be the brilliant thing. Well, not if they win, obviously. If they lose the final and get relegated, that'll be perfect in many ways.
Right.
We've done Newcastle Spurs. So Man City 6, Sheffield United 0, I reckon, James?
Something ridiculous like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this
maybe 4-1. Yeah, comfortable cakewalk for City.
I think it'll be a quick knockout. Then they're going to make a ton load of substitutions just in prep for the following Premier League. Well,
I'd be very surprised if Haaland starts this, I have to say. I think he'll be on the bench.
Yeah, I would agree. You'd be getting a Man City second string team mostly, so I'd go 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, I think it's 3-0. They might be 3-0 at half, and then just stay in second gear the second half. They won't.
City's got too much going on. Yeah,
I don't think they'll rack up the goals unless Sheffield collapse.
No.
Yeah, and then right, well, Adam, the last game, which Adam's asking the question: anyone fancy Brighton? I haven't checked today, but I gathered yesterday. Brighton were the favourite for the bookies. United, obviously, we know Thursday night football ain't great, especially when you're away. They got a real beating last night by Sevilla. They've got quite a few players out, although Rashford did come back on last night, unfortunately. You've got to fancy Brighton in this, haven't you? You really do. The only thing United have got is the big match experience. James, what do you think?
I think, and United have gone through against Sevilla. I'd probably be favouring them. My big thing with this is United's confidence is knocked, particularly in the back line. They have injuries to key players, which is probably why they got knocked out to Sevilla. For Brighton, this is, there's very little expectation. You're not expected to win it. You're having a brilliant season as is. Whereas United almost probably feel a bit of pressure, right? And a lot of players are going to be questioning their place in the squad next season, particularly after that tremendous performance against Sevilla, which gave us all, I'm sure, some much needed comedy relief, considering, cost of living and all that. It can go either way, but I want Brighton to win. So both teams are going to score. I think it might be like a 3-2. I think there's going to be a lot of goals, defensive calamities, but a lot of goals. 3-2 Brighton.
Okay. Cam?
2-0 Brighton. I was very impressed with Brighton when I saw them in person a few weeks ago. They turned Chelsea over at the bridge. They have no pressure of any relegation pressure happening. I think their headspace is pretty good. They were singing "We're going to Wembley" when I was there at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a few weeks ago, and I think the team has genuine belief. I think United is genuinely broken at the moment, so I'm actually going 2-0 Brighton. I think they're in a good headspace.
Do you know the thing, Cam, about United being broken? Dr. Tottenham will see you on Thursday. Don't worry. Jack?
Yeah, I actually, James, I'm with you. I think it's their goals in this because of the size of the game, and I actually like 3-2. Before you said anything, 3-2 was to Brighton was my score.
I mean, I can see this one going to extra time. Actually, it would be brilliant if it went to extra time penalties, wouldn't it? That'd be great. Really drag it out for United so they're extra tired for next Thursday. That'd be particularly great. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you just got a feeling about Brighton, haven't you? They're really good to watch as well. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the frustrations about the club, that they've got such a small budget. They go out, they're signing all these kids from South America we've never heard of, and in 3 years' time they'll be in the first team and then sold for 50 or 60 million. And why are we not doing this? This is what so grates me.
That's what football clubs with strategy do.
They're playing Football Manager in real life.
100%, Jack. Yes, Jack.
And we don't do that. Yeah. That's not our thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. Somebody at work, one of my student staff said to me today, he's a Man United fan. He said, without Fernandes, interesting, I didn't know this. He said, without Fernandes, that's where United really struggle. He's a big organiser for them. I know he played in the 7-0, but he said that the 4 games he's missed, I think they've lost all 4 of them this season. I was surprised. I didn't really have Fernandes down as an organiser, but that was an interesting viewpoint. Okay. Lamela passing the ball last night. Lamela, it is, was, and will ever be playing. Oh, you got to love Eric Lamela, Dave. Come on. He was rubbish half the time.
Lamela mine, come on.
He kept, he didn't have a right foot, but he could score a boner once every 6 years. I wish 2 things this season: us finish above Paul and Scum don't win the league. Well, number 2's looking a bit more positive after tonight, Robbie. Not the Robbie, surely. That would be amazing.
That'd be sensational.
I haven't got Liverpool's fixtures lined up, actually, but for us to finish above them, we probably need to get a draw at Anfield next week. And I'm not particularly confident of that.
They play Nottingham Forest at home, then West Ham away, then us. Then Fulham at home, Brentford at home, Leicester away, Villa at home, and Southampton at home. So
I could see them getting 15 points there easy.
But think about this though: that it is not impossible, although it would take a huge turn in form, I think. But it would not impossible for Spurs to finish above Chelsea and Liverpool and not make Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, just think about that.
Chelsea are on negative goal difference, which is hilarious.
And also, I didn't realise Chelsea lost £160 million last season. And they've obviously spunk a fortune since then, since the summer.
So they have to.
So they need a real fight. They've got the transfer window opens on, I think, around the 9th of June. So they've got from the 9th of June to the 30th of June to get some sales in, to get some money on their accounts. Otherwise, they're going to be in real trouble, especially without Champions League next season.
Yeah, and you also have the UEFA new rules start going in where you from 90% to 70% on your wage bill versus turnover. They've got issues.
Yeah, and also the loan thing. You can only loan 7 players next season who aren't homegrown.
Right.
So we've currently got obviously 8, and we had to release Doherty so we could get rid of him off the books.
Yeah.
They're going to struggle with that as well. I mean, it's going to be a problem for us because I think we're going to struggle to sell some of this deadwood still. I think.
Oh yeah.
True.
I think we're going
maybe
to
we're
terminate
going to
contracts.
buy Dembele.
Yeah, I mean, we
Hopefully we'll just
look at
write off
terminate
Dembele and tell
contracts.
him. Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean, if you, I think you should. What they should do, the same thing with Sanchez. Just everyone come to agreement. Let's just terminate contract and move on. Because I mean, what are you going to get for him, and how long is it going to take for you to get him out of the club? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what all the information, but there's going to be some examples of people just saying, you know what, it's better for everyone. We just terminate and walk away.
Yeah. All right. I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah,
so
got it, gentlemen.
Yeah. So oh, here we go. Davo's on fire now. Davo's woken up. Didn't want to do tonight's show. Wanted to lie in. Thought he'd make you get up
Lazy
early this morning,
bastard.
Cam. Levy loves a fire sale. Pulisic and Havertz incoming. They I think they'll keep Havertz, but they've obviously got Lukaku coming back. And did you know he's on £340,000 a week? So and he's got 3 years left on his contract. So book value to them on their accounts, he's still worth almost £60 million.
But again, if they hire a manager who can use him, it's not like he's.
No, they've got a striker. So you'd think 2 and 2 together would be to play Lukaku, but
you'd think.
Do you know what? I completely forgot. We've still got Rodon to come back. I think we'll sell Rodon. I think we can get rid of him.
There's no way.
My hot take of the evening is that Rodon's better than Sanchez, probably, but still isn't good enough for Spurs. As much as I love him for Wales, and he does a good job for Wales, he's not good enough for Spurs, sadly.
Yes,
I'd be happy with Reguilon to come back.
Yeah.
I was hoping a year at Atletico would toughen him up, but he's hardly played, unfortunately, which is a real shame.
Yeah. The interesting one for me is going to be whether or not the next manager sees anything in Gio.
Yes, great call.
I just don't think he's made for the Premier League, unfortunately. I think we just need to try and get some money out of Villarreal or another Spanish team.
That's the problem. They don't have any money. They don't have any money.
Yeah, true.
And I'm not saying he's a 37 game appearance guy. I'm saying, you know, when you're looking at that substitute at 64 minutes because you need something different.
Yeah. Yeah, King's right. Ren have dropped.
He hasn't even made the squad. He hasn't even made the squad in many weeks. Not even on the bench. That's how bad.
Are we talking recently or over a long period of time?
No, like recently. I'm talking about like he's not been getting in or he's not even appearing on the squad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in this. He played quite a lot of games, but he's disappeared recently. But yeah. So we're going an hour and a half. We've depressed ourselves quite a lot.
Yep.
Jack's got you got your dad come over for dinner, haven't you?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah. Cam, what are you going to do today in the nice what's the weather like down in Oz at the moment?
I don't know. It's not going to be too hot, so I'm looking at the weather app now. We're going for 21 degrees and cloudy today in Caulfield, which is next to Melbourne CBD. So yeah, cloudy.
James, just to let you know, I won't be coming over for dinner. I have no intention of driving to Portsmouth now.
Won't you?
So
I thought I haven't got anything for dinner. I mean, if you want to buy
I've had some gin, so I probably shouldn't drive. Not a good idea.
Hey, we should actually we've been remiss. We need to give a shout out to the U17s though, right? We actually didn't mention.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
An actual team that wears the Spurs logo, the Tottenham logo, actually won something. As insignificant as it may be, they actually did win.
Oh, they won.
The under-17s won 5-1 at Forest. Forest were 1-up, had a player sent off, and then we just battered them. And a guy called
Mikey Moore,
who I've never heard of, I have to admit.
What a name.
Yeah.
Scored a brilliant first goal. Absolutely brilliant, James.
I'll
send you a link later. It's on my. I retweeted it actually from Lily White Rose. Just brilliant, class goal. And what I particularly liked was the finish. Cool, calm, just passed it in the bottom corner, and I mean, let's not get him anywhere near the first team because we'll ruin him.
Yeah, no, we
But
need to.
I converse quite a lot with Jamie Donnelly's dad on Twitter, James Donnelly, and he follows all the games. He's always sending videos out on Twitter and stuff. So find James Donnelly on Twitter and follow him because you can get some good footage. And Jamie Donnelly, if that boy keeps going the way he is, he looks a real player. I think he's left-footed, but he can pass the ball. He's a big lad for his age. He can pass the ball. Definitely scores goals. Didn't actually score in the final, but we've got a real talented. Yes, Simon said Forest had two. They had the second player sent off quite late on, didn't they? I think. But yeah, it's great to see. These things are going to cycles. The under-21s are terrible at the moment. They're struggling. They might get relegated.
Yeah, I think.
But you do get these cycles of youth players. Mickey Moore scored at Ricky Villa. It wasn't far off Ricky Villa. If only we had, maybe someone could overlay John Watson's commentary on that goal. That would be brilliant. Beyond my capabilities. Maybe that sounds like a sports media student could do that, Jack. Maybe you could employ your son.
Yeah, so what's the suggestion? Sorry, I got distracted. No, I'm all.
So Mikey Moore's goal, put John Watson's commentary over it from the 81 Cup final.
81
from the Ricky Villa goal.
Ricky Villa, right? Good idea. All right, got it. Done.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Ended on a positive note.
100%
well played. Jack. Well played, Jack. Please do click the like button. Please do, if you're watching this afterwards, please comment. I'd like everyone to say well done to James for not swearing too much. Well done. Only twice. And thanks for watching. We'll be back on Monday night at 9 o'clock. I'm not sure if we're doing a Wednesday show next week. We will be doing a United Instant Reaction show on Thursday night, and we're back next Friday. There'll be a pod out on Sunday evening, I'm guessing. Franco should be on there. And then there'll be obviously another one after United, so it'll be out Friday morning, which I guess Brendan will do. Although Brendan's on holiday now. Told me he's buying a ranch or something, which I said, that's not going to help the whole Narcos rumours, is it, if you go and buy a ranch? So on that note, I will say thanks for watching. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. And come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you.
Well,